Next thing on the agenda is the Hearts Community Center.
I don't have nothing new as far as that goes, but it seems like people, I went by the other day and it seemed like people's kind of taking advantage of the early voting. So which is a good thing, I think.
I would like to ask you, Michael, if you didn't care to maybe go up and check the parking lot, especially before Tuesday, to see if there's any areas that need to be addressed before the voting, because we've had a few issues that's come up, and just like to see if there is, if we need to take care of everything before.
Okay.
You know, if we have signage, everything, parts handicap parking.
Yes, we do have
I was
handicap
gonna say
parking
now,
signs.
they used to be on the fence.
That is the part you want, the area from the handicap into the look at that. Okay.
Okay.
Had a few issues, haven't we, Mr.
Yeah, sure.
And I did receive a bill from Scott Sanders where he's gone up and he's fixed the broken glass. He has cleaned out the gutters. He's done some repairs in the gym. And we had to fix the security camera, so all that's completed.
I seen where they replaced the window.
On to McCorkle Community Center. We haven't had any electricity over there. We've had to shut down early voting.
2 days. We're back and running now.
Yep, everything's back in. Lawrence is in here. He usually gives us an update. Have anything other than that?
I was over there and it looks very nice, neat and clean.
I think both bathrooms are now completed. We had, and something we may want to think about with Hatfield McCoy coming in, maybe trying to get grant funds to get a generator over there for that to be used as a emergency shelter.
Yeah, that's why we had you build the bathrooms, to put showers in there, so, first step.
Okay, then on to our healthy living and healthy working. Just a few updates. Patty has asked some of us to join her Relay for Life, and that's in the springtime, about in May.
May 17th.
May 17th. So that's something we all need to be thinking about. And I'm sure that the county commission will probably give a donation towards that.
That would be wonderful.
We got to think about our Thanksgiving dinner coming up on November the 15th. We have such a good dinner. And I hate to say, okay, here we're talking healthy. Then we have this big spread that's not very healthy.
Small serving.
And I was telling Mr., what did he say? Small servings. I said, let's have deep fried turkey for Thanksgiving. Well, that's not very healthy. So, but that is something I just wanted to
Can't take that off.
let
But
you
you only do that once a year.
We're supposed to. But anyways, we will have our Thanksgiving dinner on November the 15th at noon.
Have we contacted, as we did last year, Lincoln Primary Care about any service they might want to provide to help us give people a place to exercise or help watch their weight and those kind of things?
I haven't, but I will. I'll do that tomorrow. Brian's real good to work with through this.
And we're still working on the project that we talked about before. I won't get into it. We'll have an answer soon, I think.
Yeah.
I appreciate that there's not a smoking designated area right behind where my window is.
I had
Thank
people
you.
trying to influence me to,
Well, I think there's been a few over there for the
There
last
has,
week.
but it's not the designated smoking area.
No, that's not the designated smoking area. Okay, on to new business. I need a motion to approve the bills as submitted for payment.
Second. Motion second, an all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the appointment, study vacation of Lincoln County Commission by Merle D. Clerk.
Good motion and second, an all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the exoneration orders as submitted by Tracy Dempsey, assessor.
Second.
Moved and seconded, then all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a drawdown request number 2 in the amount of $158,034.78 for the Big Hearts Water Project. Approved payment to E.L. Robinson in the amount of $155,000 and Region 2 Planning and Development in the amount of $3,034.78 and give Charles S. McCann, President, authorization to sign thus stated documents.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second, then all yes, motion carries.
You need to find that because there's all kinds of places for everybody to sign. This is all 3 of you have to sign. I'm getting confused.
Shuffle the cards.
How Jimmy Bob's done this for all those years, I don't know.
Every now and then we miss you.
I need a motion to reopen the estate of Gail Sonia Nelson and appoint Janice M. Van Haverbeck as executors to distribute estate funds received from the estate of Nellie White.
Second.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a donation in the amount of $180 to the Duval CT football to purchase championship shirts.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a Governor's Community Participation Grant Program contract by and between the West Virginia Development Office and the Lincoln County Commission for the Challenge West Virginia newsletter in the amount of $1,000 and give Charles S. McCann, President, authorization to sign thus stated documents.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the Governor's Community Participation Grant Program contract by and between the West Virginia Development Office and the Lincoln County Commission for the Alum Creek Community Park and Ball Field. Now, that's what the contract states, but this is for the Alum Creek Lions Club. In the amount of $8,000 and give Charles S. McCann, President, authorization to sign thus stated documents.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, then all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to release the duties of John Triplett as executor of the estate of Flossie Triplett.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a donation in the amount of $2,000 to the Lincoln County Parks and Recreation for the installation of a 10-foot high fencing for the Guyan Valley Middle School tennis and basketball court.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a distribution of $15,000 to the Lincoln Economic Development Authority from the funding generated by timbering at the Community Demonstration Farm for expenses incurred for engineering and extending the sewer system to serve the new HealthNet Regional Operations Office.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All yes. Motion carries. Have you been down there? Did you go down and check that out?
That's really
That's
nice.
the structure.
Do we still have, how much do we have in that team room? Do we have any?
Right at $71,000.
It's been on a, I guess that was one of the things I thought about when we got this request. Whether we'd been earning interest, and I checked with Judy, she said, yeah, we've been on a.
Yeah, it's like, we only have about
60.
59,000, and it's in present much interest. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that was not on the agenda that would like to speak at this time? Yep.
Lacey Workman. I have some questions and concerns about the Big Ugly Community Center. We've had, several, events happen, become a crisis, and as of yet, our community center is not open, and nobody seems to want to open it, when people actually need some warmth or, just companionship to get through the crisis. We don't have any generators, and we had access to water and stuff like that, but nobody wants to open the doors for us to get the water there for the community. And I'm asking you guys to see if you all can look into it and get back with me to
So
find out what we gotta
Basically,
do.
in emergency times.
Just like the, the system we had just come through the area. Or the flood that we had, a few months back.
Right.
Is Michael Tierney still over there?
Michael Tierney is over it, but nobody can seem to find out when the community meetings are held.
Do they have a board of directors?
Sure.
My dad was on the board of directors, and they had difficulties finding, stuff out to get meetings and so forth. So they've all stepped aside. So now we have people in the community that want to see a change, want to see, something happen, in a positive manner with the community center. And I'm here to do that, try to get some change.
Yeah, that's sort of a unique situation, but what we have to do is try to figure out what can be done to improve it. We'll definitely sit down, or I'll get with Judy and sit down and any input from any of the commissioners and put a letter to Michael and ask him either to stop by or something and discuss the issues and see what can be. When the school board, if I remember correctly, gave that school building and that properties to the organization that Michael was heading at that time, not necessarily to Michael, but to that organization, if he kept a community center for 10 years, if I believe it's right, then they would actually deed that property to them, to that foundation or 50, or whatever they have there, I'm not sure what it
I
is.
think it's step by step.
Yeah, that's the name of it. I don't want kind of technical, or it's a 50C3 or whatever it is. I don't know what he really did, but basically, they own that now, but it's still supposed to be a community project. And what I guess my first thought would be, we need to approach Michael and say, how can we, work with you through emergency services, through the county commission, the community over, to make sure that this is a project that maybe you could help make it available by having somebody locally, as the contact person, because does he live in Charleston now?
He still lives on Big Oak, as far as I know.
I know he was back and forth. I know, I used to see his wife here because she had some hearing care occasionally. But it would be the appropriate thing, I think, to try to figure out some way to make that work. And I've always found Michael to be a person of first, take care of what Michael thinks is important, but at the same time, work with and do what's good for the community and get things done. But I'm sure that it comes down to how do we get somebody there that will protect and care for the building and whatever those issues are. I
Well,
think
you have a lot of responsible people right there in the community
Oh, I'm sure.
that have always, tried
Right.
to take care of the place.
Right, and I think that's where, I would think. And I will certainly take that responsibility, contacted Michael and sitting down and talking with him, see if he would be willing to sit down and talk with some people, you know, around the neighborhood there where really the discussion needs to be, because, but I'd certainly be willing to help facilitate that or whatever. But I can see where it definitely is needed. That's why I'm sure back when it happened back in the 90s, giving him the building was to ensure that we have a community operation over there. And I've worked with Michael on a lot of projects.
See, I went today and picked up water, and we got food and stuff, you know, so forth, for my river area. But I could have done the same thing
Right.
for Big Ugly.
Right.
But without having anywhere to, you know, take, you know, these materials to distribute them to the community, you know.
Well, yeah. It should be one of those things that's handled differently and better, I think. Appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Okay, is there anyone else?
Yeah, as long as we're talking about emergency response, after the derecho, we talked about having regular meetings around the community to talk about what was done well and what was done poorly, and creating an emergency plan. Well, now we have another emergency without a plan. I mean, I'm getting questioned about it as I'm meeting people and talking to people, and they know I come to these meetings, so they're asking me.
I think they've had some meetings.
Okay.
Alan Holder has gone to some of the different communities. I know he's gone to West Hamlin.
Okay.
They are still, the local emergency planning committee, LEPC, has had meetings, scheduled meetings. And to finish, they've already got a plan started. They're upgrading the plan that they have. I think more so that the plan that they had was like terrorism, the dam busting, and now they're adding other emergencies as well. But there has been meetings.
And it's certainly not where we want to be. I talked to Dr. Smith today. He's the physician from the health department and helps coordinate these issues from the health department side of the thing. And we talked this morning quite lengthy about what could we do, you know, to do more. And I think one of the decisions that he and I can agree upon was that you can't do it without additional monies, and felt like it that, you know, we have gotten hit awfully hard in the last 6 months, and he and I both felt like it, we needed to have somebody outside of Alan, because he's really a 911 is his specialty. He helps with the emergency projects also. That's really not what we hired him years ago to do. But he's been doing that. But anyways, we felt like we needed to refocus on trying to get somebody interested in just being that. And part of this discussion was around what had not went proper, and a couple of issues that Dr. Smith had, and two that I had, and one of them was the same, based upon people involved and what was going on. So I assured him, didn't know he was going to bring it up. That was one of my discussions this evening, was to just let the commissioners know that there is some concern about having a person that's solely responsible for emergencies. And we used to have someone that pretty much focused on that, and it was a part-time thing. When Jack Thomas did that, and he gave it up, and then he decided he wanted it back and all that, but we have not filled that position, not a lot of money involved, but Alan has been trying to do that with the assistance of a couple other people down there. But I think what Dr. Smith and I talked about this morning was we probably need to sit down and talk as a commission and talk with Alan, with Dr. Smith, said he'd be glad to sit down on the discussion and see what we might need to do and how much and those kind of things. So.
I know you mentioned McCorkle with needing a generator, and maybe Big Ugly needs a generator. Maybe we could have purchase a couple $1,000 worth of generators for 4 corners of the county to have
yeah, we've talked about that, about generators, and we do have a couple that aren't very big, but trying to figure out how do you make them portable and permanent? Meaning portable is when you just need them occasionally, but if you don't use them very often, they might disappear. And
Covered wagon.
so we,
Locked up.
well, we've talked, we just don't know what the answer is, but right now we got one riding around on the back of the truck. You just take it home with him, so he'll have it just in case, but.
Right.
Can't leave it here because somebody else steal it.
I mean, I brought my personal one down in Mud River because they needed it and
Well,
I had power.
almost, you know, like these last 6 months make everybody think they need one if they can figure out some way to get one. But I think if we need to look ourselves as a commission, what can we do, what do we need to do? It's like Commissioner Vance asked just prior to the meeting, have we, the new one we just put in here, just got in last week, just in time, it's working like a charm.
Except for the smell.
Yeah, it's got, the diesel fuel is not good, and we will work on getting that popped out. But we never had one, but we feel like it, if we end up in the Old Harts High School as a community center, that has to be a place with the cafeteria that we've requested if they, you know, give us that building, that the cafeteria remains in place for the very reason of being able to, as a place people gather in case of need, feed them and things like
I mean,
that.
Duval worked great during the Duratio, and Big Ugly has a cafeteria. and ours
They
don't have
do
one.
have some.
Well, but that's a different thing. We don't have any say in that.
True.
But I think we need to try to get some conversation going with Michael. But in ours, I think at McCorkle, I think we need to look at some way of evaluating, see what's needed there. And maybe figure out some way to put it permanently in, some way that, you know, in the same way at the Hearts. And so we will have them as, you know, rescue stations or whatever. Because, I don't know, I heard somebody say, you know, heard the news, they're talking about the 100-year, you know, that's always been the deal, and now they're saying it's, you know, it's 100 years every year, you know, it's not, well, it's not 100 years, it's every year. But it is one of those things that I think we're definitely seeing things differently, and it means we've got to act differently, I think. So, better be ready than hoping you'll be ready. So
Do you think
we are
that-
going to address that.
I think the health department, when all that money first came down, you know, for threat preparedness and
Right.
advanced swine flu, and people were, you know, what are we gonna do with the bodies when they died off? And there were several community meetings where churches and people had a chance to come together. Do you think the health department would be willing to do another couple of those?
Well,
Different places in
according
the
to
county?
Dr. Smith, probably. We hadn't had one since we got the new director,
Uh-huh.
since Joe's come in. But Joe seems to be, I called him the other day when we got into this deal and made sure that his personnel would be available to work with us. And he sent Jennifer down to coordinate efforts, went down to 911. And so, but it just, I think it, we need a leader. We need somebody to say, here's what we want to do, let's get it done, here's the plan. And it's we had a good plan, and they did buy them a generator when we had that thing going back there 2 years ago. But they had money to do that with, and it's working well. But we just, I think, in order to make it happen, I enjoy seeing things happen. Sometimes I enjoy it more when I see somebody else getting it done. But it just, I think that we just need to sit down and talk about. I know we received an application when we put Michael in as commissioner. We received one of the applications that we received had a lot of, the gentleman had lots and lots of training along this line. And I haven't really sat down and talked to him. I don't know if Commissioner Baines has or not. He knows who I'm talking about. But there's people out there that understand this, and there are regulations and things to do, and so you have to have training, and in order to be paid through the emergency service, you have to be certain training qualifications in order for us to use that money to do that. So we're just going to have to pick it up and do what.
I said, there's so many grants out there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the reason the county cannot purchase generators for like each one of the community centers or each one of the fire departments, put them in place, just for the situations we went through back in early summer and yet again now.
Well, I don't know if there's any reason we couldn't. I think it'd be a matter of trying to figure out if that's what, the size you need, and we got enough money, if the fire department's got some money. I think it's one of those kind of, is it a commitment that needs to be, you know, this needs to be looked at and talked about and worked through, I think.
With working this through the past 2 disasters we've had, I think it's a good idea to place the generators in each one of the departments. I know right now, we're yet again working our butts off delivering water and food, and we're actually using our station as a shelter, and we have no electric. And up until today, our phone was out.
Yeah.
You know, even without electric, we still have a shelter for people to come and stay in, and there's people taking advantage of it, because at least, you know, it is
Right.
warm.
Well,
We do
I
have
think-
bottled water.
Yeah, you're on target. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I don't know, I know last couple meetings ago, we had a request from Hearts, I believe,
Right.
wanting, the cooler put ice in, I believe it was. And, so I know that their thoughts are starting to move in that direction, trying to provide that service. But really, until really tonight, we have never discussed it as a public issue to what role do we play? So,
Now, this is what Alan Holder is supposed to be working on.
well, he's been doing it until we hadn't hired somebody to do it. It's not what we pay him to do.
I think the person that Charles was referring to before, he's worked, he's retired military, and he also has oodles and oodles of experience with Katrina and a bunch of those different disasters. And
How long has he been working on this?
he's not as of yet. I just kept, he ran into, he's from Hearts, but he does have a lot of experience in threat preparedness with disaster relief on the federal level. So we're lucky to, I mean, we're unlucky to have all these things happen to us like this, but we're lucky to have somebody that's done it on a level greater than just even a county. So when Charles was talking about the position there, I thought of this fella, and if you look at the stuff he's been involved in prior, and he's really interested in participating. He does attend the the
LEPC.
The LEPC meetings and things like that. So he's aware of what we're trying to do and things like that. I just think he's a resource that we can really utilize to really help us in this situation, because he's actually been on the ground in those areas and working for the federal government, trying to get relief into them, trying to do those type things like we're talking about, prepare for other things, help the communities prepare for other things. So I think he'll be a great benefit to us in these type processes. But you know, we can bet on these things are going to happen more frequently. I think. I just think when, you know, if you all were here when the AEP person was here and I was talking to him about the consequences of repeated disasters and the cost of the economy, not just with how it affects our people and stuff, but the fact that, you know, when they go fixing these lines and everything, they're going to raise the rates on us, and we're going to pay more for electric and things like that. But I do think that we've got to have some plan. We've got to have one person in charge of that place, so you know who to get a hold of to open Big Ugly up, or whomever, wherever we're at. We at least got some, because Alan does a good job, but you know, it's a big job, and it's probably more than he has time to devote to it, I think, with all the other things he does. And this fellow lives in Hearts and is not doing much else. So
He's in the fire department, isn't he?
yeah, he works in the fire department. He's one of the I think Secretary Treasurer of the fire department at Hearts.
See, the job, what you were just discussing there, is something that I'd say most of your, 90% of your level 2 firemen, that's also went and gone like me. We've got managing company tactical operations. You know, that's stuff that you think about we do. Yeah.
I think this fellow even coordinated efforts over 3 or 4 states at a time is what he's worked at. I mean,
So is he going to be able to spend that kind of time?
I don't know. I have never talked to him.
no, we really haven't.
I've seen
approached
his
him.
resume.
He's volunteering his time going to these meetings and inputting into these meetings now and things like that. And he seems to be really, I've talked to him several times about disaster preparedness and things like that. Same thing he's saying, what you're saying with the backup generators and things like that. But I think this needs to be a comprehensive plan. We need to have everybody that needs generators getting their generators, everybody knowing what to do about those generators, who's responsible for them, and things of that nature before you.
The community knows where to go.
Right, exactly, because that's one of the things that, I was going to talk about is getting in contact with people when these things happen,
Yeah, these guys
they say call the electric company when your electric goes out, but if your phone don't work, you can't do that,
Well, since we went through the windstorm back in early summer, the people in our area know to come to the fire department now. They showed up the same night needing water,
Right.
the same night that it hit, so I mean.
Well, that speaks well for you all.
Yeah, and now we're out delivering water and food again. The American Red Cross is back over there again, bringing in the food, so.
Well, and probably, between churches and fire departments and schools, that's about the only central buildings and things that people have to go to. One of the concerns that I mentioned a while ago, I had about three, Dr. Smith and I talked about. One of them was Lincoln Primary Care has been real agreeable to make their facility available and use it as a shelter in place. But the problem we have run into, and I don't know, you have to blame somebody on it, it's blame me, I guess, but what we have found is that we don't have enough people that want to be volunteers to run these, staff these. How do you get people, like you all, heard me say, you've been doing.
I bet you ask any one of the chiefs, especially like John Lovejoy, or Tater over at Harts, I bet that they would take and pick up the ball at the community center or wherever it has to be at.
Could
We
be.
have to get a group together. I bet any one of the firemen would do it.
Well, and I think I would hope, but still.
That's what we're here for. It's all volunteer.
But still, it's a big job when you get maybe 100 people in there, and you've got to worry about feeding them and sleeping and all those things. It's one of those things that I think we need somebody to help do that. I don't know how we go about that, but that's this discussion I had this day with Dr. Smith, and I think maybe, that we sit down as a commission and with the health department, with Mr. Holt, and talk about what do we need, and then maybe write up some kind of job description. It could be, as I envision it, not maybe an employee, but a contracted service. This person devises the plan, he has these connections out here, he has people who would work with him, and you're on call whenever you know that, weather service, something we want, you engage, you're ready to start putting calls in before the lines go out. You're on call, start these things. That's just some discussion we have. We just think something like that needs to be. And of course, he also informed me, I don't want to insult any of my paper friends, but he says Ed Grable, the new guy, is wanting to be part of that communication network. So he said he had talked to him about it.
And that's fine. The problem I had this week was the same problem we had in June. I found myself Tuesday afternoon making the calls or contacting the emergency service to find out, are there centres open? I was finding out that there were centres open from Michael Moffat on Facebook, from Nick Blair on Facebook. That's how I was finding out that centres were open. I wasn't getting it from the emergency services. Nick Blair told me on Facebook that the Hearts VFD was open. I got a text from 911 centre 2 hours later giving me the same information. And I told them I already know that, So I don't mind where I get the information from, but I'd love to be getting it from one person first, rather than having to trawl Facebook or Twitter or other news sites to find it. I told them this in June. We have a resource at the newspaper. There's this concept that, okay, you're a weekly newspaper, you can only get it out once a week. We're not. We have 3,000 friends on Facebook. We have we've hundreds of followers on Twitter. It's how we got the message out about Trick or Treat this week. It does work. We can get the message out quickly, but there seems to be this reluctance to get it to us, or they don't think of us.
I think they don't think of you guys as being the quick responders that you are. Because I know when you talk about Trick or Treat, that's the second thing I told you to be sure to call Sean, because my first thought didn't come to you guys, because but as soon as I got through the first, I thought, better not, you know. So I think again, back to what Dr. Smith and I talked about, we've got to do something, and we can't wait for somebody else to do it, we're just gonna have to do it, so.
Because
You really need someone in contact with you, because one of the problems you got with Twitter and Facebook is what happened with the New York Stock Exchange saying it was flooded on the first floor, and that was through social media, it wasn't confirmed. And
Gotcha.
it got to some of the news media and stuff like that, so. But I think every bit of information, more information you have, the better you are, but I do think there needs to be someone official that would contact you and say, you know, this is what we got across the county, and I think that's what we're kind of talking about getting to.
Because we've made, you know, there's a lot of stuff, like you say, floating out there that I kind of have to decide, well, do I post that or not, you know, and there's some junk that I have. No, if it's coming from an official source, it's easier for me, but it can be got out there really quickly and very effectively, I think.
Yeah, and I think, again, we'll learn from mistakes, we gotta learn fast.
How long before the storm hit did we know about it?
2 days.
I don't know, long enough for me to buy
We were,
20-gallon gas
we at Mud
for my
River,
generator.
we at Mud River was already planning on what to do.
I think we
when
had
heard about it.
enough notice.
Yeah, so was
We just didn't think it was gonna be really bad.
Alert right away.
Well,
it should
and
be
that's
the
one of the
same
things was that the weathermen missed the mark by about 2 counties, really, as far as the snowstorm. I mean, as far as what I saw on Mountain Mile on the ridge. I mean,
Well,
you're
even
supposed to
if
get 1 to 2 inches, you get 12 inches, somebody messed up.
even if the snow wasn't a factor, the wind itself was taking the trees down and so forth. Along, you know, it even made it worse. We
The
had
20
wait.
some that I cut out of the road were mainly oaks, that the big limbs had broken down where they had leaves on them and things like that. And I think that's what got us too. These all are, just like the summer thing happened, we lost our electric and everything else forever. Well, here we not only wind up having a bigger snowstorm than ever in October for the state, but it also was on leaves on the trees. And that the combination of the two is really, and the high winds, really caused problems and stuff. So but these are all, you know, these are kind of scary things when you look at them. I mean, that they happen at such great intensity and things, and as bad as we have to deal with it, those people up in New York and New Jersey and places like that, they're having a rough time too, and they're not as tough as we are. You know, they're not as self-reliant as we are. So
You'd be surprised.
They're pretty tough.
I was up there hauling a lot of snow a few years ago when they had several feet of it right out of the city. You'd be surprised how resilient they are.
Well, I'm sure everybody is. I always like to brag on us, though.
They're just tougher in a different way, right?
There you go, there you go.
I certainly appreciate the discussion, because I didn't